In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss Meta's new Ray-Ban display smart glasses, the massive list of new features added to YouTube, why you may want to buy a case for your iPhone 17, and what happened at the Make It With Notion conference. We've got all this, a special guest, and more for you in episode 195 of the Tech John. Columbus, Ohio, I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. almost ex-Disney / ESPN supporter. Almost. I was about to pull the trigger, and ABC took a step back and said, maybe this ain't the best move. So until now, until further notice, I still have ABC and Disney, but they almost took your boy out the paint.
I'm assuming you're talking about the Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Yeah. So Jimmy Kimmel, for those who don't know, Jimmy Kimmel made commentary as he normally does in regards or in response to this administration. I guess his last comments was a bridge too far. So the smaller affiliates decided they was not going to air the Jimmy Kimmel show based on feedback, air quotes, from the FCC.
Mm-hmm.
And then Disney went on ahead and said, we're going to suspend the show indefinitely as a response to the smaller networks deciding they wasn't going to carry the show. So maybe this weekend, well, over the past week, all the responses came out. And then I think over this weekend, I don't know exactly when, but AB said, you know what? We was tripping, or not ABC, Disney.
Yeah.
Disney says, like, you know what?
Bob Iger said,
we was tripping. We gonna put Jimmy Kimmel.
You can come on back. And please, y'all, stop canceling all them Hulu accounts and Disney accounts.
Yeah, buddy, because Hulu, I'm not a Hulu subscriber, but my Disney was about to be canceled, and your boy was about to hide the ESPN app on my cable subscriber. I was this close.
So y'all, if you're listening, you might think it's just a 2-person episode this week because it's just me and Terrance talking, but we actually have a special guest host this week, Angela Hollowell, from just all places on the internet. Angela, you do a lot. We'll let you talk about it at the end, but just so happened that Steph, was not able to make the show today. And Angela and I had just talked literally last week about her coming on the show sometime in the fall. So fortunately, I just said, hey, I know this is ridiculously short notice because I want you to do this like in the next 6 to 7 hours. Can you jump on today? She's like, cool, no problem. So Angela Hollowell, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So glad to have you here. We are going to go ahead and just jump into some of these stories. Angela, get in where you fit in, talk about what that's why you're here, talk about whatever. But the first one, the first thing I wanted to hit you guys with is anybody interested at all in these Meta Ray-Ban display smart glasses that just came out?
I didn't see no link, man. I want to take a look at the picture, man. Did they just announce something?
Man, it's on the internet, man. It's like it's Meta. I just figured you would know. But
they look like Meta like that.
They look like some really thick Wayfarers. Like, so they really look like the old ones. They're just they are considerably thicker. But the cool thing about these glasses is that they have in the right lens is an actual screen. So this is what I think a lot of people think when you think of virtual reality glasses or you think of smart glasses. This is what folks are thinking of, glasses that you can do stuff with, but you can actually see stuff in the glasses that everybody else can't see. And so it's like Google Glass, that experiment that they had years ago. This is what that is. But from what I have been hearing, the reviews of these things are awesome. People are saying that these are the best virtual reality, or the best. I shouldn't say virtual reality because they're not virtual reality glasses. They're smart glasses. But these are the best smart glasses with a display. And there are a lot of, folks who have reviewed these things or saying that these things are really, really good.
You said, go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I actually wanted to jump in on this one because I thought this was interesting. I know that a couple of tech CEOs sat with Trump and were like, yeah, we're investing $600 billion into, consumer tech. And one of the issues with wearables and with smart glasses is, one, the weight. So when you think about the Apple Vision Pros and other lookalikes from the previous Meta Ray-Bans. Not a lot of excitement, not a lot of functionality, battery life abysmal, not really usable. But these seem to have checked a lot of boxes for people. And then they introduced the Oakley Meta Vanguards, which are like their athleisure, athletic consumer brand of this that's backed by Meta AI that I'm personally really excited about. I think it's attaching to a moment where women's sports are really big, where people are really excited about fringe cases of sports media like the Savannah Bananas, being able to see different perspectives of sports and athletes and the lives that they live. So having a camera in the glasses, being able to take phone calls, listen to music, and be connected to your Strava or Garmin profiles, I think is incredibly smart. Only thing I don't like about it is that it's connected to Meta AI. I don't think any call I ever make on those glasses will be safe, but maybe the battery life will make up for it. I don't know.
Well, speaking of safe, how do you feel that, let's just say, um, camera glasses become more popular? How do you feel about privacy concerns as far as them recording, when they're recording? You know, are you, as a woman, right? I'm asking you specifically, like, as a
Yeah.
woman, right? How does this make you feel about privacy? You know, will us consumers understand what it is? Or do you feel, what I mean by that is, will we stay away from things, recording things that may cause privacy concerns? Or is it privacy concerns in general just by having them on and using them out in public? And then the deeper question is, you know, do Meta companies who put these things out really need to do their job, you know, as far as blocking access, restricting access to make sure consumers are following the rules, i.e., as it relates to privacy?
Yeah, I mean, if I think if we're depending on Meta to protect us, that's already a non-starter. But I do think that there need to be some greater protections in terms of facial recognition. I think the happy medium for a lot of this would be, and I know Meta has the technology, they have the capability to identify faces with these glasses. So blocking out faces, unless explicitly given consent by the person who is in front of the camera. I
Now,
think
this
that's
is
going to
for
be our best bet.
identification. Are you thinking like blocking out faces as it relates to the playback, or is it relates to being able to identify people just by looking at their face?
The
The
playback.
glasses.
The
Okay.
playback, because you can't
Okay.
control, like I think in the moment, it would be harder to do it, just like it would be with any camera, any DSLR, any phone. But I
Hmm.
think in terms of playback, because I mean, again, in the best of cases, people are probably
Hmm.
using these to capture content for
Sure.
social media, right?
Sure.
They're not necessarily using them to be private investigators. Could they? Sure.
Hmm.
Are they?
Hmm.
Probably not. So assuming good intent, even in the best of circumstances, I do think we do need to be a little more vigilant about how uh, casual conversations are being recorded, how people's faces are being recorded on the street. For a lot of travel and content creators, I think that's very important for the safety of everyone around them. But also, again, like if they wanted to, for whatever reason, submit this information to police for any reason or identify someone in a damning statement, they have the ability to at least get consent from the person that says, "Hey, yes, this is me. I give my consent," um, for best or worst cases. But in terms of me as a woman, and I probably should think about this more. Um, I haven't thought about it in terms of like, would I be safe if someone was recording me without my knowledge or understanding? I think there's a couple of things that needs to happen that maybe could indirectly allow for disclosure of these. And one of that is like the branding of the glasses themselves. People
Sure.
should be able to know when looking
That
at the
you,
glasses that you have
yeah.
that you are wearing smart glasses. Point blank period.
And they're
And they should.
recording. I don't
Correct.
know if they need to
And
be
there should be
blinking. I don't know if there needs to be a siren. I don't know if there
So
needs to be a little
there's a light right
something
now.
twirling. I
So
need something to be blinking.
here's the thing. There is a light that lets you know when they're recording. Now, I do believe people have figured out how to make sure that light doesn't come on when they're recording. But
right.
here's what I would hope would happen and what are going to happen are two very different things, because the law basically already allows anybody to take pictures of anybody doing anything anywhere that is considered public. You don't need their permission to take pictures or video. You can just put your camera up and start recording, and there's literally nothing they can do. Well, it's my kids. It doesn't matter. Are your kids outside? Are they in public view? Then you can record somebody else's kids. It's creepy to do that, but it can be done. Now, some states have it where when you're doing an audio recording that you have to have what's called two-party consent. So both parties have to allow you to be recorded from an audio standpoint. Last time I checked, the audio recording of people who are not right next to you on these things is not great. And I think that actually might even be by design. They're meant to record you, not to record somebody else for these very reasons. So I don't think we're
Well, I'm
getting
just
any
thinking more.
What's that?
Well, I'm just thinking as far as, yes, there's nothing stopping me from holding my phone up and recording you doing something, right? But for me recording you, you can see by me holding my phone up that I'm recording you, either taking a picture, audio, whatever. With these glasses, how can, if I had on Ray-Ban glasses right now and they wasn't blinking, how could you tell I was recording?
I couldn't.
But that's what I'm saying.
But
maybe there's some
the
extra.
law does not require that. I don't have to.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I don't have to notify you that I'm recording you, so I can record you all day long.
But that's what I'm asking. Since these glasses are more commonplace versus me holding a phone up, right? Since I am like looking at you and also could be potentially recording you, yes, the laws are not on the books now, but what I'm asking in general is, do we need to come up with some new laws and some new books specifically for recording eyewear, right? Because again, the difference is I could be recording you right now versus me holding this up and saying, hey, I'm recording you, or just me holding the phone up, looking at you. I got lets me know visually as the person being recorded that, hey, something's happening and I need to make sure I'm aware. But if I just got glasses on, like I said, need to be some blinking, need to be somebody dancing or something up there to say, hey, I'm recording you now, just so you know.
Meta is doing that to give themselves some cover, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I want to wear a body cam out in public these days just because I don't trust people to, Rob did this and I'm like, no, I didn't, and then there's their word against mine. Let's go to the tape. I'm being facetious, but not really. So I just think that we're getting into a stage where you just have to assume that if you're not in your house with closed curtains, you are being recorded. To assume anything less than that, it's kind of naive, because literally there are cameras everywhere, and the law is on the side of the people with the cameras, right? At least right now. Like I said, audio, they consider that, like in the states that have two-party consent, they don't want people being recorded without their consent. Maybe you would have to change some laws to have that happen. I just don't know that that we're primed to see that come. I don't think that we're going to go and say, these things that you used to be able to do, with your camera, you can no longer do them with your camera. I just don't think that that's going to be the case.
No, I'm just saying, I'm thinking like not in place of, I'm thinking of in addition to, right? Eyeglass cameras as a standard, maybe from the government down to the makers, not to us using them, but like Apple recently, if you hold this phone up, it's got a little dot up there in the corner that Apple's letting you know that you are recording or something, whether it be audio or video. I'm just thinking, like, shouldn't it be like more of a standard nowadays, even with phones, whether it be the front facing camera or the back facing, somewhere up here, there need to be a light or something, because, not necessarily just, because people want to know whether or not, I think at the very least, the government, laws, whomever, should put something on the books that says, hey, you are being recorded. Now, again, it's commonplace to assume that with doorbell cameras and car, what they call them, the car cameras,
dash
they
cams,
call them something. Dash cam,
even the cameras on like Teslas and other EVs that just have cameras everywhere. And I want to say this, depending on the car, they actually do like a light, like an LED might come on when those cameras are actually engaged. But they don't have to do that. That is just the car company deciding that we're going to let people know when they're being recorded. don't hold your breath if you're thinking that the government's going to come and say we're going to actually put some things in place to protect you more than we already are.
They will when one of them get caught doing something on some cameras, on some Ray-Ban cameras.
So now here's my question. Everybody on here is a glasses wearer. Are these something that you're interested in getting?
I don't want the camera. I just want the augmented reality part, to where I can see in the corner that I got messages or calendar events popped up, or I'm walking and I want walking directions. That's it. I don't need the camera part.
I do want the Oakley Vanguard metas. I just don't want the meta AI, which is defeats the purpose probably, but I do want them. I think it'd just be one less thing to worry about when I'm on my bike. Like, I have a rig to set up my GoPro on my bike, but if, let's say, I forget it or the battery dies, like, I have a backup that's hands free and that works, and I could just turn my head and look out the water and you can see different angles of the trail. I think that'd be really cool. And again, the maps is super cool. You can explore new places, you can see how long you've been cycling, you can see what your pace is. I think that's a really good benefit. There's also a comment on YouTube from Saray Willis. I hope I'm saying your name right. They said, "Have we discussed Zenni optical anti-infrared infrared lenses for glasses to fight against this?" I'm assuming you mean that when a light is shined on the
into
lens
your
part of your
eyeball,
glasses, then that will kind of give you this built-in shield for people at least being able to see your eyes and maybe help against disidentification. You still got the rest of your face. I mean, like, if they really wanted to go postal and really find out who you are, they could. I don't know if the eyes are that big. I don't know. I mean, maybe we go back to COVID and we just start wearing masks everywhere. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Except for the places where they literally make it illegal for you to wear masks. It's like, there are some places where mask wearing is not tolerated here. So
well, then I will not be
I
there.
think Saray is talking about, there are some glasses that I can wear if I don't want to be recorded by Ray-Ban glasses.
Correct. Yes.
Zenni makes some anti-infrared lenses to where if somebody's recording me with, let's just say this for the Ray-Ban glasses, when it playbacks, you won't be able to see my face because these infrared glasses then jam the signal, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I would use those. Absolutely.
Yeah. It only gets you when you're looking at the person, though, which, like I said, the other part of this is that if you think of how and I know I've said this on the show before, but if you think about when cell phones first started getting cameras in them and everybody was freaked out by that, we had that moment, and now people can't imagine having a phone, not with a crappy cell phone from back in the aughts or even earlier than that type camera on it. They can't imagine not having a phone that has 3 lenses on the back and 1 or 2 on the front that does all these different things with LiDAR and all this kind of stuff. They just can't imagine that. I think it's going to be the same thing when it comes to these wearables. I think that people are simply just going to get used to the fact that people are walking around with dash cams on their face. And you have to just adjust to that. And here's the other thing. I think that, like, people will adjust to it initially, but then they will get so used to it to where they will still act a fool completely in front of you, knowing that that you probably have a camera on you, because literally you have people who will right now say, "I'm recording you," and they will say, "I don't care," and they will still go wild out while they know they're being recorded.
Because we only see those videos, right? We don't see the videos where. So I think that. So going back to your original point, that with the regular cameras, with just the camera on the flip phone, right? You're right. Nobody imagined having a phone with 3 cameras on the back, but I think we let that slide back in the day because we didn't imagine all the things people are going to do with those cameras. Now we're here and people are doing a lot with these cameras. Now we want to take it up to glasses. Now we're like, hey, wait a minute now. Back in the day, we didn't care that much. And then now look at where we are. Let's slow walk this thing, right? That's what I'm hoping. Again, like you said, don't get your hopes up, but I'm just thinking that I think if this becomes mainstream, I feel like in addition to all the content we're currently capturing on smartphones, I think we're going to capture and see a lot more just because of the ease of use and because of the what's the word? Not sneaky. What's the better word? Anyway,
It's somewhat covert if you're not putting a
yes,
phone in somebody's face, if it's just recording off your
right,
glasses. Yeah.
right. You may get somebody to say something that they wouldn't normally say versus you doing like this, right?
I don't
That's
think
all
we're
I'm. That's
giving
all I'm.
enough credit to the fact that people will naturally course correct. Like, and what I mean by that is, there is a prevalent amount of like AI generated, I don't want to call it slop, I'll be nice. AI
Mhm,
generated posts on
mhm,
social media, AI
mhm,
generated blogs, AI generated newsletters, that people swore up and down were going to be the next big thing for marketing teams and businesses and brands and creators who just wanted to flood the space and get noticed, right? They said it was a volume game. AI helps you do more faster. And we're seeing right now, here it is in 2025, people are rebuking that. They're like, no, I can tell. This has no personality. This isn't telling me anything new.
mhm.
And it's not interesting. And it's not getting views. It's not converting. It's not building relationships. And people are using it less and less. So I think, with Meta, to my understanding and from what I've seen so far, when you post something that was filmed or created with the Meta AI, like glasses, it will tag it on
Okay.
Instagram, Threads, Facebook. So you will have some idea that this was made with this. And I think we're going to see how much people play into that. Do people care? Do people view those more, no matter how much Meta pushes them in the algorithm? Are these things that people are naturally gravitating to? Are people turned off if they see, made with AI tagged on an Instagram story? How are people going to respond? So I think even though from a policy standpoint, we are slow, if not non existent in that department, people also can determine how they want things to go. And the consumers have a lot more power than the very few CEOs or policymakers that we have in office right now. So we're seeing that. I hope we continue to see that. And I think, again, policy is nice. We all want it. We all want some kind of regulation to help us have a healthier relationship with technology. But I also think people can also kind of self select what technology they want to be available to them and what technology they want to be normalized. So,
I'll close it with this. If folks are waiting for legislation to save them on people with cameras on their face, you might want to get you one of those sun clocks that gives you sunlight, because you're going to be inside for an awful long time before you
yeah.
get out into the public. But and just to wrap this up, Terrance, you don't want them. Angela, you want the Ray-Bans. And I'm interested in the actual, in these ones. I don't know that I want the version 1. I think I would want maybe the version 2, maybe version 3, when they can get them just a little bit smaller. Because one of the things the reviews are saying is that they look heavier than they are. They're not terribly heavy, which is a good thing, and they feel like you're wearing regular glasses. I just don't do 1.0 devices too often, so I think I would probably wait on this. And like you, Angela, I'm not that thrilled with this stuff being in Meta. Not to the point that I wouldn't get them if they're version 2 and they're still cool, but I'm waiting for the day to where I can plug in the AI that I want, as compared to you just the Meta is really the only thing in town right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Angela, one of the things that you had mentioned to me that you wanted to talk about was YouTube, and I believe it was last Tuesday they just dropped a ton. I mean, I think it was like over 30 new features into YouTube that make things a lot easier for creators than they were before. So, why don't you tell us what's going on with all the stuff that YouTube announced last Tuesday?
Oh, would be here a while, but I will give a little bit of context around some of the bigger features that I was really happy to see and what I think it means for quote unquote competitors of YouTube, if there really are any at this point. As you know, and as you mentioned earlier, I go live on Substack with two friends every week. Um, Substack is a platform that was originally mostly meant for writers. They have since integrated public and private podcasting and live video and native video, short form video, long form video that also natively integrates with YouTube. one of the reasons why Michelle, Corey, and I decided to go live on Substack as opposed to YouTube is because of Substack's discoverability features. It is a known fact that prior to this release, if you went live on YouTube, the only people that would get notified are the people that are subscribed to you. You know, people are not coming across live streams from people they don't follow or subscribe to on the YouTube homepage. They're not coming across them in the shorts feed like they will be with this new update. And there's no dedicated section at the top of YouTube's home screen like there is on Substack's desktop or mobile app home screen, where all live streams that are currently happening appear at the top. So the discoverability on Substack, even though it has a smaller user base, was much higher. And we've all benefited from that. It's been an incredible feature for us. Are there some things lacking? Yes, in the true nature of Substack. But overall, in terms of does it work? It does. I think YouTube has chipped away at that with its live streaming features. Now, live streams will be discoverable in the Shorts feed, and it will give you automated shorts via Gemini that it suggests that you post that can link back to the live stream. So you're getting it on both ends in terms of the shorts feed, in terms of when you are currently live, people will see it and be able to click onto the live stream. And then once you are done live, you will have shorts that you can repurpose that people can again discover in the shorts feed and then click onto the longer video so that, let's say you're monetized, you can still get AdSense from that, which is cool. Um, as a podcaster, a feature that I think has been really incredible, using Captivate, and I'm sure other podcast hosting companies have, is the ability to implement dynamic host read ads. These can be host read ads for brands, so they'll have access to your entire catalog, which is nice. It kind of de-risks the partnership of working with a brand on a podcast ad. It also allows you to leverage your own platform for your own products. I've used it to promote affiliate links for events. I've used it to promote affiliate links for products that I'm using. I've used it to promote my newsletter. And I think that that is something that I really was hoping would come to YouTube, that a lot of people said that worked in podcast advertising would never happen. So if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, I hope you are eating every single word because it's here now. And I think it's great for a number of reasons. YouTube, again, my catalog, I haven't posted anything this month, and I have had over 1,000 views on my videos from previous videos that I've uploaded. That is an incredible amount of power in your catalog. When you're building, if you think about YouTube as you think about anything else, where you are building a catalog and a database of your best information, your best videos for people to view years and years and years from now, you're giving up a lot if you are signing a partnership that says I'm only going to get monetized or paid based on the performance of one video for a set amount of time, when that one video could still be getting views, getting attention for months and years to come. So we're talking about the ability to de-risk brand partnerships, which are much more prevalent on YouTube for creators of all sizes than they are for podcasts. And we're talking about the ability to leverage your platform, your views for things that you're already doing, which for people who have been monetized on YouTube will tell you that the YouTube AdSense is not enough to pay the bills, nor is it enough for most people to support a team. So those are probably the two biggest ones. I think they brought some other features in that people are really excited about that I think will be good. One of them is collaborations. So Instagram really popularized this. I think on Instagram you can add up to 10 people to a post as collaborators. So cross-pollinating those audiences. On YouTube, they're allowing you to add up to 5. I think 5 is a good number, especially given the breadth of YouTube. The person that posts the video will retain the video on their feed, their YouTube channel, and they will get any AdSense associated with that video. I think that's still largely how it would work on Instagram if Instagram paid creators. Um, and I think that's still a really good compromise for getting in front of different audiences and allowing different audiences to comment on those videos and cross pollinate with different creators. So, those are probably the top 3 that I think people are probably going to be most excited about. There's a lot more that I'm probably forgetting, but I wrote an article about it in my newsletter, Please Also Responsibly. I'll try to get that to Rob so you can put it in the show notes after.
Okay. So here's a question on the dynamically inserted host read ads. So you can go back to your entire catalog and insert these into old videos as well. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Now here's the other question. Once you do it, can you then change the ad? So let's say that you're just running a campaign for a month and then next month you're running something different. Can you go back and change the ads that have already been pushed out to your existing catalog?
That is my understanding. My understanding is that they're going to be dynamic. They're going to be changeable. You can set them for a period of time, just like you can with a podcast dynamic ad read. And you can set them at different places throughout. So they can be pre-roll, mid-roll, at any point in the video that you want. So that's really cool.
That's really game changing.
Yeah.
It really is, because one of the things that we that haven't done on this show is actually take our audio feed and put it as its own channel on YouTube. And the reason for that is because, well, we already have like certain brand deals and things like that. We already have ads that are here, but there was no way to take that and replicate that on YouTube. So it's kind of like, okay, well, we'll put different content over there for different audience, but like just to have the audio feed over there, if I can't take everything that I have in the audio feed everywhere else, I wouldn't want to put that differently on YouTube, for a myriad
When you
of
say the
reasons.
audio feed, meaning the audio feed populated with ads already. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we that's something that YouTube has said no to. You cannot have dynamically inserted ads on your audio feed over on YouTube. So we just didn't do it. Now we're doing the video over there, and most people who are who are watching on or listening on YouTube probably are watching as well, which is because it is YouTube. But there still are a lot of people who they actually use YouTube as their podcast app. So regardless of whether it's a video or not, they listen via YouTube.
Yeah.
So I recommend that for most podcasters, absolutely. If you have an RSS feed, take the 5 minutes to create the RSS injection over in YouTube and just replicate it there. You don't have to do anything other than just upload your artwork and then one time add your RSS feed. But if you're doing stuff like what we're doing, where we actually are running ads on our RSS, we can't put those ads over there. So we would have one place that has ads, another place that doesn't. So that's one of the few downsides to this. But this new dynamically inserted ads is not an exact replica of what we're doing in RSS, but it at least gives us the opportunity, or folks like us, the opportunity to put content there and have interstitials in the middle of that content. So that's huge.
So one thing I will say is on Substack Live. So when you finish recording a Substack Live, it will give you the option to post the audio directly to a podcast RSS feed associated with your Substack account. It will give you shorts that are captioned, and unfortunately Substack's branding, so it's going to have an orange highlight because Substack brand logo is orange. But captioned short videos that you can share, and of course a full video recording for people to come back and view. Right? YouTube is doing basically a chip off of that. So once you finish that, I do believe it will give you the audio and it will give you short form video clips. I have long said that if you're going to put your podcast on YouTube and you actually plan on doing either a live stream show or a video podcast, the RSS to YouTube is not going to be the solution going forward. It has to start with YouTube and then go back to audio. A lot of audio purists gave me a lot of colorful words in response to that. But there's something in my soul that makes me happy that I am right, because, and it's not even just because like I care more about video. It has nothing to do with the medium. It has everything to do with the feasibility and the file type that is associated with video. And I think for a lot of people who are, like, oh, you have to do video now if you're a podcaster. You don't. But I think again, people are seeing that there's a lot more leverage to putting in 2% more effort to your show. And so I'm interested to see how podcasters will respond. If you are a true audio lover, audiophile, if you will, if you would never, ever watch a video podcast on YouTube, this is your time to shine, my friend.
We'll have to definitely
Sorry,
check
I
it out.
rant dramatic.
I'm interested in those dynamically inserted ads, because
Yeah,
I'm doing it in audio. I don't want to create something that doesn't have that. So we only do the video there, and one day
yeah.
maybe we'll be monetized, and there'll be some AdSense type style ads that'll come up. But as you said, AdSense is not where
It's not enough.
it's just not enough. So we will see.
I don't understand. Well, I get trying to be a one-stop shop. I don't understand why Google doesn't make, or YouTube rather, why YouTube doesn't make a YouTube audio or a YouTube music
It
or a
has.
YouTube
Mhm.
podcast to compete with Apple Podcasts, to compete with
There is.
They're
Spotify,
so big
and
they
There
then
don't
is.
do
have to.
just YouTube, and then just do regular old YouTube to compete with themselves and Vimeo. But they're trying to
There is
do
a YouTube
everything in
podcast.
YouTube, and that seems like they're trying to do a lot, or trying to cater to a lot of different audiences, and somebody's going to get left out.
So
There is a YouTube podcast, to be clear, though, and it is
I'm sorry.
under. There is a YouTube podcast, and it is under YouTube Music. So if you're on the YouTube Music app, you will have a podcast tab.
mhm.
So I do just
Y-
want to
y-
put that out there. They have, because
Right,
they folded Google Podcasts in order to make this an
right.
option.
But for people trying to cater to video, video followers or video customers and audio customers, it's like everybody's trying to be this one-stop shop, to where even like what you mentioned in YouTube Music and um YouTube Music and podcasts on YouTube Music, me as a creator, I'm not uploading that using YouTube Music. I'm uploading that using YouTube proper.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then the end user is choosing how to consume that content, whether going to YouTube regular or going to YouTube Music, right? But
Yeah.
the heartbeat, the main hub is YouTube. And it sounds like YouTube is trying to slowly bring in that audio audience while trying to keep their YouTube video audience, instead of maybe making it two separate whole properties altogether, and they're just verticals of each other. You know what I'm saying?
So here,
I
They
don't know
already
how that
did
will.
yeah,
that, but I'll let Rob
here.
talk. Yeah, I'll let.
Oh, go ahead and make your point. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, so here's the thing. So they did have two separate properties. They had Google Podcasts, they had YouTube, and
I
then
remember
YouTube
that.
Music was its own separate thing. They shut down Google Podcasters because they're like, okay, we're not top three. We're not gonna be top three. What
Mm-hmm.
we can be is top one in video podcast and let
Mm-hmm.
everybody else catch up to us, right? Which is what they did. They put
Mm-hmm.
YouTube Podcast as its own tab, and um they made it under YouTube Music, which again I think was smart because in essence they created a better version of what Spotify is currently trying to be right now.
Right.
Where if you think about Spotify, the app, right? They've always had, music. Then they added audiobooks. Then they added or podcasts. I don't know the order, but they have podcasts now. And what they essentially were saying was, well, people aren't watching on here. They're so used to Spotify being this audio only thing that serves up great music and has great playlists that people can tap into for music discovery. We want to be a part of discovery. And we feel like we can do a greater job at podcast discovery if we create this feed like experience and we pay video creators essentially to post video on Spotify. Something that took a very, very long time for them to even get right from a creator perspective. Now you're talking about changing the behavior of people who have been using Spotify for years now in order to try to get them to watch. And natively have, even if you upload a video, you don't have to pay for premium in order to just turn your screen off and listen to it. YouTube is saying, we would be fighting an uphill battle to try to get Google Podcasts to be something that people watch. That's just not their relationship with it. And they already have an established connection between music and podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music. We're just not going to compete. What we can do is integrate podcasts with YouTube Music and say, you know what, you're already used to watching music videos on here, subscribing to album release premieres on here. You're already used to creating mixes on here. I personally prefer a good YouTube mix over a Spotify playlist, but that's another conversation for another day in terms of curation. But they're also saying if you're already used to watching, just come watch on here. The
Right.
audio connection is already there. Let's
And
do
then
what we do best. And if you want to turn off the screen, turn off the screen. But we are feeding you a place where you're already used to watching, probably prefer to watch. We're giving you that. And that's playing to their strengths right now.
and that works perfectly for end users, right?
Yeah.
How does that bode for creators trying to manage all of this, right?
You know,
YouTube and ads
nothing
and
has changed. Nothing has
really.
changed for creators. You're not having to create a YouTube Music account to upload your podcast.
You
What
you
changes?
literally just enable the podcast tab in
Yeah.
YouTube, and anything that now hits that that playlist, just automatically starts to it starts to propagate like a podcast would, regardless of whether it was
Like
a
a podcast
video,
do, yeah.
whether it was just audio only, whether you actually used RSS injection to create it or you uploaded it manually like we do, Terrance. It just doesn't matter. And I'll be honest, when YouTube Music first took over for Google Podcasts, I was like, this sucks. It's like, because it doesn't do great with RSS. Like I couldn't bring like an OPML file over and bring all my podcast over. It's like I need to go find these podcasts on YouTube Music and play it. And then I thought about it. So wait a minute, YouTube is not trying to be a podcast hosting platform. They're just trying to be YouTube. And we're going to continue to be YouTube. And if you create a podcast, we're going to just make it easy for you to put your stuff over here and people will come listen or watch your podcast over here like they do everywhere else. But we're not making that into a standards compliant podcast with RSS feeds and this and that and the other. We're just going to make it easy for you to put your podcast over here with RSS. And there's a lot of, I call them podcasting purists that are really upset about that. And they say things like, I will never put my RSS audio only podcast on YouTube because it's not true podcasting. And after I was in my feelings for 15 minutes, I was like, well, wait a minute. Do I care that you listen to me on YouTube as compared to listen to me on Spotify, as compared to listen to me in Apple Podcasts or the myriad of other podcast apps out there? I don't care. It's all distribution at the end of the day. So the thing that it kind of sucks is, well, I have to go count a YouTube listen or a YouTube view on YouTube independently of everything else. But that's just okay. That's it's worth it for the amount of traffic that you could ultimately get from YouTube, and then all the benefits that you get from YouTube, which is the search engine. YouTube is the number 2 search engine on earth. And the problem that RSS driven podcasts have always had and continue to have is discoverability, because there are all these little fiefdoms out there to where you are on Spotify or you're on Apple Podcasts or you're in Pocket Cast or you are in, literally there are dozens and dozens of podcast directories out there, and none of them really talk to each other in an effective way. That's not a true statement, because they do now, but back in the day they didn't. So if someone was listening on this app and you weren't on the app directory that they use, they may miss your show simply because there was no way to find your show in the directory that they actually use to find shows. And YouTube is now correcting that. It's like, we don't care if your show is RSS. We don't care if it's audio only. We don't care if it's a video show. It's just on YouTube. And if you search for it, people will find it if they search YouTube for it. And I think that is where, YouTube is playing. We're not trying to be a podcast, a podcasting app. Because you like the word podcast, we'll give you a playlist and call it podcast. But as far as YouTube is concerned, it is just YouTube. And they give you different ways to express it, whether it be YouTube directly, whether it be YouTube, via YouTube Music. So it's these features are huge, and I guarantee there will still be some purists that will find ill will with this, because I mean, some people literally think that they're trying to put RSS out of business. It's like, I don't think Google thinks about it that deeply. They think about, how can we get more people on YouTube? Because if we get more people on YouTube, we make more money. I think that is the decision matrix. More people on YouTube, good. Less people on YouTube, bad. How do we get more? Call these things podcasts, because people feel a way about podcasts. And if we call them podcasts, more people listen. Does that work? Yeah. It works swimmingly well. Let's go add 30 new features that help those kind of creators.
Yeah. But it's also the time too. Google and YouTube were noticing that people were watching podcasts on their screens, because we're talking about the average podcast is running for 45 minutes to 2 hours, let's say, on the conservative end. That's a long time on YouTube. And like any other platform, they're trying to keep people on there for as long as possible. So they're saying, people are treating this like TV. Let's give them a TV-like experience. Let's give them dynamic ads. Let's give them discoverability. Let's make it so that live streams, can be seen. That's another feature. So we're recording in like vertical right now, but if someone was watching on their phone, they would just see the person that's talking in vertical. So they would just see me. And then when Robb starts talking, they would just see Robb. It wouldn't be like some smashed landscape into a vertical screen. So I don't know, man. YouTube's engineering team, we got to give it up for them. They did a great job.
All right, so I'm going to go check some of these features out because I knew that you and I were going to talk about this, so I didn't look any of this stuff up. But like I said, dynamically inserted ads. That one is making me raise my eyebrows because it's like, oh, there's something new that I can do. Let me go check that out.
Yeah. Real quick, I did want to address a comment here from Saray Willis. They said, and for people who pay for YouTube, users can already listen to YouTube with their screen off. So another thing that YouTube kind of did that I think was like a precursor for all of this. So previously, I think YouTube, they either had like a YouTube TV, YouTube Family Plan, YouTube Premium, or it was free. Now they have like a YouTube Lite, which is just music and podcasts only. So if you want an ad-free experience there, and I think that price is more competitive than Spotify Premium. So Spotify Premium is $9 a month, $10 a month, $11 a month, something like that. And I think the YouTube Lite paid plan is like $7 or $8 a month. So it's just undercutting Spotify enough to make you think about it. Pettiness, I can get behind.
So moving on to this next story, Terrance, you stuck this one in the rundown, and you titled it Scratchgate. But it sounds like these aluminum bodies on these iPhone 17s, they are very easily scratchable. So tell us what's going on there.
And it looks like it's just specific to the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max, to where they switched from a titanium housing to an aluminum housing because of the heating issues from the bigger battery of the Pros. So when the iPhone 17 Pro and the Pro Max came out, they have a orange color, they have a deep blue color, and they have their standard silver/white color. The orange and the blue are starting to scratch up more so than any other of the other iPhone 17 releases. And again, everybody's pointing back to the aluminum body, which, if you think of aluminum, you think of that silver metal color.
Mm-hmm.
Apple tried to spray that orange and that blue over top, but since it's aluminum, soon as you get past or get scratched on that little surface, you can see that silver shining through that scratch, which is what a lot of people are now calling it Scratchgate. And like I mentioned, they are pushing it there, attributing that to the fact that they've got that aluminum body, which is disperses heat better than the titanium body, which held the heat. And some people are also going as far to assert that the reason why Apple didn't make a matte black, whatever black color for the 17 Pros and the Pro Maxes is because Apple knew that a black color that's starting to get scratched up to where the aluminum shines through would look pretty bad. So, of course, the easy fix to this, which I wouldn't agree to, is putting a case on your phone. So that's what Apple's suggestion is. Just throw a case on it. But again, I'm already of the mindset I'm not spending $1,000 plus and then have to turn around and get a case. The reason why I spend $1,000 is because I want you to see that I've got this Apple iPhone 17 X, Y, and Z, right? So what's the point of me having to spend all this money and then have to cover it up? I'd rather just get the entry level version, spend less money, and not have to worry about it. But to all those people out there who either have or are thinking about getting a iPhone 17 Pro or a Pro Max, you're going to have to be aware that it will scratch up faster. And those, let me not say scratch up faster. The scratches that you get are going to be highly visible, more so than any other Apple device, because of that aluminum body. So you either deal with it or put a case on it if you're trying to extend the beauty of that device. So just be warned if you're thinking about it, which I'm glad I didn't. I thought about it. I was back and forth, and I was like, you know what? I don't need it. So I feel validated and vindicated that I don't have a scratchy, expensive iPhone 17.
So, Terrance, you have been team no case for a while. Angela, what do you do? Do you case or no case?
Y'all live drastically different lives than me. I cannot remember the last time I had a phone without a case, and I'm talking an OtterBox case. Like,
So
that is
no,
insane to
you and
me.
I are simpatico. I literally want a titanium box to put my phone in, put it in my pocket, and then have a sheepskin sheath that I can wrap
On
up the
top of
case
that,
in to stick it in there, just so I know that it's safe. Because I know me, the one time that I tried to go caseless, and this is years ago. This was a Galaxy S3 because I am an Android user. The one time I didn't have a case, I'm using my phone, I drop it down on the side in between like the center console and the side of my seat. I'm like, okay, I'll be cool. I'm not gonna let me just get somewhere when I stop, then I'll get it. What I didn't think was that, oh, wait a minute, my seats automatically roll back when I open my door. And I had a gash on, and it wasn't on the screen, fortunately, but it was on the backside. But it dug into the metal, and it's like I had not had the case on for less than 24 hours, and now I have a scratch on this thing that will devalue this phone significantly. So I still have the phone because no point in trying to sell that thing, and that phone is probably 12, 13 years old. But at that point, I decided that I would never go without a case. So I have not necessarily OtterBox, but I do use cases that protect my phone very well, and I just find that they're easier to hold. Like, sometimes to me, phones can be slick and I don't want to drop them. So I get a case. And then the nice thing about the case is that I get a new case like every year. I probably keep a phone for 2 years, sometimes 3. And I just get a new case every year. It makes the phone feel brand new to me.
Yeah, I'm team case. I just, again, I've also had a situation where I was like getting dressed really quickly in the morning. I went to grab something, dropped my phone, and it landed face down. And I was like, oh man. And I like just got the phone like maybe a week or two before. So the case hadn't even come in the mail yet. Pick up the phone, whole case is smashed. And I'm just like, I don't have time to even care. I have to get going. So as long as it works and can give me directions on Google Maps, that's what it is. And I kept that phone for a year before getting another one too. So I'm very much like, as long as it turns on, makes a call, sends a text message, I'm 90% okay with the phone. I'm not bougie about it at
Yeah,
all.
this wouldn't have been a problem for me because I was already going to put a case on it anyway. But I would be upset if I was told by the manufacturer, oh, if you don't want your phone to scratch easily, just put a case on it.
well, I don't know if that's the actual statement from Apple. I think people are just, I don't know if there was an actual quote. I don't see a quote from Apple spokesperson, but people are pretty much filling in the blank as how Apple would respond. They'd say, hey, go buy these new cases that we got that fits your phone perfectly.
Yeah.
So, Angela, there was a conference last week, Notion conference, or
Yeah.
actually Make It with Notion conference. And I don't believe that we have ever talked about Notion on this show. I remember distinctly, probably in the last month or 6 weeks, asking Terrance about Notion. He's like, what's that?
I
So,
don't even know what that is.
so So,
Sacrilege. Oh my God.
and you know that I said, like I said, the internet don't come for me because but I've already said this publicly on the internet. I am just not a fan of Notion. I don't dislike Notion. I just don't like Notion more than I like other things that do Notion like things. So, can you, Angela, first, before you tell us about the Make It with Notion conference, tell everybody what Notion is and why you think they should be using it?
Yeah, I've been in Notion groupie for a while. Notion is a workspace. And I use it as a creator. I think a lot of brands use it that collaborate and have teams. Students use it to organize their notes. That's how it started. Started as like this very minimal, calm tech, in contrast to Google, that people could have documents, have databases, and have a little bit greater functionality than a Google Doc or Google Sheet or Google Slides could offer. I use it for probably too much. I use it for organizing my notes on my podcast, curating my guest list, tracking my outreach. I use it for planning YouTube scripts, YouTube things. I track all of my marketing analytics using Notion. I have a complete database for each newsletter where I track my content calendar, what I'm writing about each week. Um, I use the web clipper to keep links for inspiration, for review, for research. And I've been an early adopter of Notion AI, which has given me some incredible insights on things that I've written in Notion. I have a quarterly kind of document that I keep up with for my business. And I've been able to use Notion AI to prompt against that to learn from it and to get better and to grow. Um, Probably a lot of other things that I'm not even mentioning. I have like a dedicated space for meta prompting. So when I'm wanting to have questions about certain things, I track for my new podcast, Melanin MVP. I put all my transcripts in Notion as a backup. And now I have Notion. It's available now for me to prompt against. Like, what are some common themes that I've talked with these guests about? What are some big quotes that we can pull for social media? Things like that. And probably a lot more that I'm not sharing because it's top secret. Even the course that I built, Community OS, that's dropping a week from today, built 90% in Notion with some handwriting. So it's been a backbone for me as a creative entrepreneur. Um, I think that the advancements that they've made recently, and even since I've been a user, Notion Mail, Notion Calendar, Notion AI, all of this came after I started using
Mm-hmm.
Notion. So it seems a lot of progress, and largely a lot of people are getting access to that for free. If you're an individual person, you don't have a team, you're benefiting from all of this for free. There's no fee for Notion Mail. There's no fee for Notion Calendar. Notion AI is not free, but $10 a month. I mean, that's cheaper than most AI things, and they have not gone up on the price, which is very surprising. So I'm gonna stop talking now because I know I'm
Well,
rambling. But
there's a ton to it. I look at Notion as a database-backed note-taking tool, workspace that you can design and do all the stuff in. And the reason I never really just gravitated to it is that I predate Notion. I was using tools that do what I need to do very, very effectively. And the lift of trying to learn Notion to get Notion to do what I was already doing in another tool. Okay, well, I want to do what I'm already doing in this other tool. Why don't I just keep doing another tool and I don't have to learn Notion? So that's really the reason for me. But there definitely are some benefits, to the to the application. It is a cool app. I just don't like it. That being said,
I mean, I can't attest to your use case. I think I'm someone who has really benefited from being able to grow with Notion. So,
So you,
if you're just like, I'm good with doing the same thing I've been doing for the past 10 years, then yeah, it's probably not for you. So,
so you brought up your use case. Tell the folks what you do. You mentioned podcast and you mentioned a couple other things. So mention specifically the things that you do as it relates to Notion. How does Notion help you get those things done?
yeah, I'm a writer. I'm a newsletter writer. I have two newsletters. I'm a podcaster.
When
Occasionally,
we
I
say
put
two newsletters, what type of spaces are they?
one is for women's sports, and the other is for creative entrepreneurs.
Okay, and these are just newsletters only, no websites, no courses, no
Yeah,
podcasts. All the it's
yeah,
those things too.
yeah,
So it's bigger than just a newsletter. You actually have a business that sports
yeah,
that has all those different or has all those different
yeah,
media outlets,
yeah,
newsletter, podcasts, videos, clips, yada yada yada.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am like a full-time creative entrepreneur. So there's also, again, if you're not a full-time creative entrepreneur, you probably are not going to be using it as much as I use it. But it is literally one of the apps on my desktop that opens that login. So if that tells you anything about how often I use it.
well,
So
we'll make it with Notion conference was last week. So tell us what went on in that. Maybe you can say something that'll make me go back and look at Notion again. I look at it probably twice a year. It is just like, nope, it's still Notion. I feel like it's
I don't know
it's
if I'm
still
going to
Notion. I
say
still need to
anything that,
build this thing if I'm going to do it. So that's where
yeah,
I get lost. And I said, I don't want to have to go learn how to build something in Notion or pay somebody to build me something in Notion to
I don't
do
think you
where I
have
already.
to
So,
though.
but yeah,
I
Well,
don't think
I don't
you
want
have
to keep
to.
knocking it. You tell us what did the conference display last week, and what can you now do? even more effectively than you were able to before?
Yeah, I think this year the big theme was just a lot of the developments in the AI capabilities of Notion. One of them was so Notion AI, when it originally was created, was simply an AI that allowed you to work within Notion. So there was no web search, there was no uploading files that it could read, there was no connecting Notion AI to anything else. All of that has changed, right? So I would say the biggest competitor to Notion AI, again, and this is something that does not have connectivity to Notion, which is interesting, are like your Claudes, your Perplexities that are almost like a Google search replacement because they do research. You can upload files for them to parse through big data sets that they can parse through and give you insights. Those were largely things that Claude and Perplexity really excelled at. Now Notion has that capacity as well with Notion AI. In terms of integrations, Notion has always been really good about native integrations. They've added that to the Notion AI functionality. So now you can import Figma documents. So designers probably going to love that. You can integrate with Claude now to make your prompting a little more effective and to keep a score of what you've been asking Claude, which is great. I think that's going to make the environmental impact of AI usage a lot more effective. Um, GitHub. So if you've been coding a project, you can have Notion AI, read that code and improve it or make suggestions or give you sample prompts to get better at what you're doing in Cursor, whatever the case may be. And a lot of other things that I haven't really tried because I don't really care for that right now. What I mainly care about is, now I have something that almost has my, and I hate to use this word, second brain in it. Now it has access to my second brain and the internet. So I can ask it more pointed questions. Like, for example, I can ask it in my course, it's like, I've built this course. What other complementary assets should I make that complement this course? And it's given me data based on what I've built, but also what it can parse from the internet that would be good options to add to this ecosystem of community OS. I can ask it, what am I missing from this course? What other things should I be thinking about including that I have not included in this course? And it gives me more pointed assets based on other things that are out there in the space revolving around community and building a business with community. I can ask it, given what I've accomplished this year, what are some things that I should be proud of? What are some things that what are opportunities for me that I should consider based on where I spend my time, where I spend my money, the success that I've had? I think that's really important. Um, I think it's, really has given you just greater functionality in terms of leveraging what you already do at a higher capacity. The other thing was Notion Mail. So Notion Mail came out previous to this at last year's Make with Notion event. And now they've added greater AI email capacity, which a lot of things are going in that direction anyway, right? Grammarly acquired Superhuman so that it could have a native AI email writer assistant,
Mhm.
basically, in your email platform. That is essentially what Notion did, just kind of upped the AI capacity that is available to you in Notion Mail. I think previously you could kind of train Notion AI based on the emails that you got, like, here's how I would categorize this. Here's how I would place urgency on a message like this. This is a conversation that's going to keep going. I want to set this aside. And now it's giving you greater capacity for, yes, for organization, but also for responding and responding in your voice, if you will. So that's pretty cool. The other thing is Notion agents, which I think is going to be probably the most compelling for someone like you, Rob, where you're saying, I don't want to spend the time to create this. Now you don't. Just ask Notion AI to build whatever you want it to build, and it'll make it for you, which is great. And I've already done
So
that.
let me ask you this question. Is the utility of Notion for you based at least partly in the fact that it sounds like you have let Notion kind of be like the home base for all of your projects as compared
Pretty
to
much.
every time I've tried to use Notion, it was like, I want to use Notion for this thing, still having Airtable for stuff that I do, and still having Evernote, which I don't know that I don't know, ever is a long time. I have no intention of not using Evernote. Let me just ask you this one question. Does Notion do OCR or, OCR at this point? Can I take my handwritten notes and it actually bring those in and turn those into data?
I think so.
Okay. So that's new since the last time I've looked at it. I will, and I haven't looked. It's probably been at least 6 months, to a year since I've last really played with it. But that was something that that I was like, if I can't write stuff down and it just go in there, and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to massage it. That was something that I was looking for. So I think it was like, I'm just so used to doing things the way that I do them that I didn't want to have to go build a whole nother thing. So I'm not anti-Notion, because like I've seen some people do some ridiculous things with them. It was just that I think this, like the type of architect that I am, I'm not a builder of the platform. Give me the platform, tell me how to use it, and I'll put my stuff in it, as compared to, you can put anything in here, but you need to figure out how you want to build it and how you want this to look and how you want that to look. And that's where I've kind of fallen down with it. Not because it's not capable. It's just that I just didn't have the patience to actually go learn it, to build the interface, to build the, to what have you, because I already had that stuff done in other tools. The difference, though, is that I got 9 tools for things, as compared to Notion being the one thing.
Yeah.
So wait, so you go to do something and you've got to connect to, touch, log in, confirm on multiple different things to get one thing done?
Not necessarily that. I'll use Make, or I'll use, actually Make is what I'm using. I'm not really using other stuff to be my middleware any longer. But I've just set stuff up over the years to, when I create this thing here, Readwise, go grab it and then massage it and put it there. And then Make, go grab this and massage it and put it here. And then, Make actually does quite a few things. It'll send it to Asana. It'll send it to, I've even got stuff to WhatsApp. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff that I've done over the years that I would have to go redo in Notion, and it's already working. So the problem is that for me to get the most benefit out of Notion, I would need to take all of those things and put them in Notion, asking to trying to do one of those things at a time. And because I'm such a control freak, I just don't know that I want to let any of it go. So
You're so late. They added automations last year, native. So all that stuff is like you connect once and then you're done with it. Like the big lift happens one time.
Well, we'll see. So anything interest you about Notion, Terrance? Because I don't think you really had heard of it before, probably a few months ago at most, right?
I mean, it sounds useful for people who have a lot of different things going on. If you are you're a multi-hyphenate, you are writing and you are editing and you are interviewing and you are journaling and you are note-taking and you are project management and you are all these different things, right? Then I could see how this would be useful for you as far as I don't want to call it an enterprise. Yeah. If you consider yourself an enterprise, you need a tool that can house and store all of that stuff. Right. And I'm assuming that's what we're talking about, I would assume most of our audience is not only just people interested in tech, but probably got some sort of side hustle, some sort of side business, or full-time, I have a app or whatever the case may be. So yes, that would definitely be useful to a lot of those people. But for like the general public who is like, I'll use myself for example, right? Even though I'm a techie, I don't approach things like, oh, everything's like a business, right? It's like, if I'm about to do this home improvement project, let's treat it as a business. Let's load it up in the base camp and let's do this. I don't think like that, right? I don't think a lot of people think like that, right? So this type of stuff it's hard for my mind to go, okay, what is something that I do on a regular enough basis that has enough complexity to where if I just built it in this thing, I could just press one button or say one thing or click the last search or whatever, and it would do all that. A lot of regular people would have a hard time, even though you probably could, but you'd actually have to sit down and be like, all right, how do I meal prep for the week? Right? Most people will just open up their phone, do their shopping list, buy the things, then use AI to use whatever. What is my recipe for making lamb chops? Spits out the recipe. They make it enough, and then they divvy it out per day, and they go on about their life, right? I'm pretty sure you could use Notion or Basecamp or a Noonday or a Monday or all these other things to do that, but a lot of people, regular people, are like, all right, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't need this whole process just for doing this. So trying to get over that hump is, once you do that, then that's how you get people to open up their minds to all these different things, like a Notion, for example.
Angela, tell me if I'm wrong on this, because I think I might understand how people get into Notion. It's for doing exactly the opposite of what you just said, Terrance. It's like they had one thing. Somebody had a recipe database they built in Notion, and they showed it to somebody else, and they just shared it with them. And now they're using, oh, this is pretty cool. I can put all my recipes in here. Oh, you know what? I like to, make drinks as well. I wonder if I could actually modify this to make drinks as well, for like these specialty drinks that I'm making. And then they do, well, I'm already using Notion for the recipes. These are recipes. I could probably go do this as well. That's kind of cool. It's like, oh, there's a calendar here in Notion. I can just put my calendar stuff in here for when I'm,
Right.
what days I want to be, making these baked goods or drinks or whatever. And I think that for the regular person, because here's the other thing, Notion is free 99 for a lot of this stuff, is they just start doing those individual little things because they didn't have Monday. They didn't have Asana. They didn't have these other tools to do those things in. So Notion being free was like, oh yeah, I'll do this here. And then one database became 2 and 3, and then they started interlinking them. And then they are now in Notion. Is that a fair way to say how a lot of people get into it?
Possibly. I wish I talked to more Notion users. I don't. I think from what I can tell, Notion has marketed itself for builders. So people who want to build customized workspaces for
Okay,
whatever
right.
it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
Consider myself in the builder category, obviously. As you said, I do a lot. I'm a little insane. So to be a little more organized and insane, Notion allows me to be that. But if you're just trying to do meal prep for the week, yeah, Notion is overkill, my friend. You could easily do that in like a Google
Yeah.
Doc.
And I'm
Um,
thinking, like, how do we get, well, not how do we, but how would Notion pull in your average person to be like, hey, I know you're only doing X, but with
I don't think
Notion,
they want
you can
to.
do
A
da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
lot,
I don't think they
a
want
lot of
to.
folks are using
And
it
I
in
don't think
school
they
too.
care to. I think, like with any workspace platform, they are always going to benefit from having more enterprise users, right? So
Mhm.
your bigger companies that have, 20 to
Multiple.
30 plus employees that they're all paying per seat, like
Yeah.
they're making more off them than they're making off me,
Mhm.
Sure.
but they're also serving the need of like someone like me who is a builder and who has the potential to grow and scale into an enterprise account. Right. So I think they know very well who their audience is. And it's not a
All right.
casual consumer. It is
All right.
a creator, a
Fair.
founder, an entrepreneur, a
Yeah.
builder type
That makes
person.
sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I actually skipped one of our lines in our in our show today, where I was supposed to actually go and say all the names of the people who have been supporting the show, but I want to make sure that we get that in. So we started, I believe it was episode 190, thanking and giving shout outs to all of our longtime patrons. And so we're keeping that going this week. I want to shout out Nathan McLean, John Sapala, Bex Fortin, Robert Milton, and Brian Yeager. Sorry I didn't do that at the top of the show. I'll probably come back and make a, next week's show, mention, these names again, just so that you actually get it at the top of the show. But Nathan McLean, John Sapala, Bex Fortin, Robert Milton, and Brian Yeager, thank you for supporting the show. These are all founding 50 folks who have literally been with us since the first month that we had a Patreon. So thank you for supporting the show in the way that you do. But Angela, it has been absolutely wonderful having you come and hang out with us on such short notice. And I know you from, from the, like I said, I think we first talked in Black Podcasters Association, but you've got a fair amount of projects out there. And, I know that you are a filmmaker. I know that you are really into covering women's sports. I know that you talk to folks, in North Carolina about their projects and business and stuff like that. You have got like your hands into everything. Maybe that's why you need to have Notion is as much as you use it. But tell folks, what you got going on, where they can find you, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I will not bombard you guys with 10,000 links. I'm just going to do you the solid of saying, if you want to learn more about me and what I'm working on, visit my website, www.angelahollowell.com. It's spelled exactly like you see it on the screen. And that's where you can find everything that I'm working on, previous projects, and I even have a now tab where you can see what my focus is right now. So that's where you can find me online.
Okay, so once again, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And you know, like I said, short notice. You came in like a champ because I think you had about 6.5 hours to say, "Yeah, I can do it." And then you're on the air. So thank you for coming in on such short notice, Terrance.
Yes, and thank you, Saray, for all the lovely comments. I really appreciate them. All right,
And you
I'll
can
see.
find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. We're also at the Tech John on all the things. So come holler at us, have you holler. Until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.